going to take a look at Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden, and I'm joined by the game's executive producer Ulf, who's here. Oh, I'm not. That's wrong. I'm here with Mark and Harolder. Yeah. Guys, thank you so much for coming by. Mutant Year Zero: Road to Eden is a lot of words, and I think a lot of people see this and they're like, "This is a brand new thing." This is based on a 30-year-old RPG.
That's correct. It's based upon a RPG pen and paper book that was released in the mid-'80s. And it's seen a bit of a revival because it's been reprinted in English, and it's been sent around different countries and around the world. So yeah, it's become quite a popular thing, and we were lucky enough to get the rights to make the video game based upon.
Yeah, actually, it's amazing that this IP was able to survive 30 years without getting turned into a video game. But when we knocked on the IP owner's door, they not only made it happen, then they invested in the game and stick with us through thick and thin.
That's wonderful. I mean, the cool thing about having an RPG that's been around for 30 years is you've had people playing it and effectively kind of like doing a dry run and sort of play testing it before you even build the game. And you've turned it into a really interesting game where it's real-time exploration and recon and then like turn-based tactical combat.
That's true. We kind of wanted to get the game sort of to bring the best out of that world, and having it as a purebred turn-based game just didn't cut it. So we kind of implemented the different elements of the game, bringing people from IO like Mark and Lee Barley that have loads of years and making Hitman, bringing the stealth element into the game, which sort of bridges from free exploration into turn-based, just made the whole thing click.
Well, I mean, the gameplay of something like, you know, XCOM Enemy Unknown is really addictive, and I know a lot of people are really into that. But that level of the stealth and exploration is a really nice added touch.
Yeah.
How is the world structured exactly? Is it like sort of separate environments, or is it one big?
There's separate environments connected together, so it forms a world, but they're they're definitely in sections and separated by loading periods, right? So, but you can approach anything you want in any kind of way you would like to choose. So you can go in for a stealthy approach, you can go in for all guns blazing. Everything can be handled uniquely by the player.
Our way was sort of to take the craftsmanship of game development, and instead of sort of focus on getting the game to be crafted. So we have every plan level carefully crafted. So we think that the replayability of the game is in the gameplay and not in seeing new skins sort of popping up every time you to load the game.
Yeah.
Now, as for the sort of the setting itself, this is my first question is, why are there talking animals?
That's actually based upon an expansion for the pen and paper RPG, where they have anthropomorphic human or mutant animals, we would call them, and they're interesting characters. And that's actually one of the things we wanted to do, was have some very interesting and more unique characters to explore the world of Mutant Year Zero with.
So the setting itself, like what happens? Something goes horribly wrong, and it's a dystopia. Like, give me a little context here.
It's kind of a post-human era. A lot of bad things have happened in a relatively short period of time, and we're sort of recouping after that. The boundary between men and animals have disappeared, and we have humans and animals, and then we have something in between called the mutants.
I'm really into that. There's something like, I love this sort of the tactical sort of guns versus aliens approach of XCOM, but then to have like something that's still very like, it's very gritty and there's a lot of kind of dark stuff going on, but then you've got a duck named Dux.
Yeah.
How much character creation is there and customization?
You don't create bespoke characters, but there are a lot of mutations and things that you can swap around for the characters. So as you play through the game, you'll unlock, of course you can buy weapons and add-ons for your weapons and that kind of stuff, but you also unlock mutations, which there's a mutation tree, which you can actually pick and choose mutations, so your characters will evolve depending on your play style and what kind of enemies you encounter in the world.
Okay. Could you give me like a few examples of sort of the mutations and their tactical advantages?
Okay. Well, we've got such mutations as stone skin, where you can turn your skin into stone, and you can take a lot of damage from enemies, or you can absorb it.
Frog leap is one where you can actually leap from one part of the level to another and sort of get tactical advantages. You have moth wings where you can sort of fly up for high cover advantages. There are loads of different mutations that sort of bring the game into a different level. As you sort of play through the game, you get start working with armor and weapons upgrades, and then once you see that that's not really cutting the edge, you need to get something else, and then the mutations sort of get you rolling, and that's
nice. That's how many characters are there throughout the game?
Well, there's a number of characters you can recruit. I won't go into the details of how many you can recruit, but you can recruit more. I mean, we've shown 3 characters in our trailer. That's Sporm, Dux, and Selma. And there's more characters you can recruit on top of that. But yeah, I'd like to keep the lid on that.
Do they kind of interact with each other relationship-wise? Like, how much of sort of a social component is there to the story?
Well, the game is kind of, it's a very story-driven game, so the interaction between the 2 main characters, which is the duck and the bull, is like the essence of the game, but the additional characters can lead the game and drive the story.
Yeah.
Okay, so on that note, what's going on in the story? We know that it's a sort of post-human world, but...
Yeah, it's set sometime after the end of the human race. The world's seen a few disasters. I mean, the game will explain this. I don't want to spoil the game. Of course, that's not a good idea at this stage. No one's been playing it.
I don't want to know the ending, but, you know.
Well, humanity has been wiped out by a number of different disasters. Nuclear war, and also a plague that swept... Before that, a plague swept the world, which took out about 75% of the population. And, yeah, then the world is kind of a destroyed Earth. It is post-apocalyptic, but a little bit different because we've got the mutants now involved in this, not zombies and the usual stuff.
In short, it's kind of the mutants come from a trip. The guy that runs the Ark, which is sort of the last remaining sort of stronghold of the humankind, is gone missing, and you've been picked to go and find him.
Okay, I can get behind that.
Yeah.
Now, are there any like civilizations, or are there like towns or sort of non-combat areas?
Well, the mutants, they have a place, a stronghold. It's like a village really. That's called the Ark, and that's where they're safe because they live in an area. Well, a part of the world is called the Zone, which is what the mutants refer to as the world outside of their natural sort of safe place, which is the Ark. And the Ark is actually, it's like a converted bridge. It's like a bridge they've built like a little bit like a sort of barter town kind of feel going on with there, right? And they're safe in this, and that's their village. That's where their elder lives, and that's where they go back after a day's stalking, where they go around into the Zone collecting resources for the Ark.
Okay, so is that that's your hub world type of thing? Or
yes,
okay.
It's kind of the hub. You can go in there and you can buy items, and you can hear rumors and get missions, this kind of stuff.
All right, and how in terms of the sort of the story, the missions, and how that unfolds, is it fairly linear, or does it let you kind of pick and choose how you go about it?
There is a story that runs through the game, and you can follow that. There are some side missions and side areas to go and explore that are related somewhat to the main story, but there is a story from A to B to follow. Yeah.
Now, I know one thing that, and I apologize for repeatedly comparing this to XCOM. I swear that's not a bad thing. One thing people always talk about is sort of the tragedy of losing a character that you really get attached to. Do you have a system like that here?
Yeah, we will support like an Iron Man style system, so you can get really attached to a character, and then once they're gone, they're going to be gone. Yeah.
Oh, man, I don't like that at all. I don't want to.
No, but I think if you are getting attached to your XCOM characters, you're definitely gonna be really attached to ours. Yeah, that's for sure.
They're but like lovable animals too.
Yeah. They have their own personalities and quirks, and as you play through the game, you'll probably find a favourite in between the group, and then you'll feel even more heartbroken when you lose them, I guess.
Are there different classes for characters, or are they kind of just character-based?
Well, the characters themselves, they are just sort of, they're what they're called stalkers in the universe. And they're not stalkers in like a social media sense where they just follow people around. They go out and they're hunter-gatherers. They go out and get food and resources for the art. The characters themselves, they have differences between them here and there, but for the most part, they're pre-generated. The enemies, however, there's a lot of different types of enemy, and the enemies have different classes, and they're quite clear, and that's actually quite a big part of the game, where you'll need to sort of tailor your mutations and weapons when you encounter certain enemies, because you need to be able to match them at their own game, so to speak.
And how much of that reconfiguration can be done sort of on the fly?
On the fly, you can, once you've unlocked the mutations, you can swap them anytime outside of combat. And same with weapons and weapon attachments, and also party members. So if you have, at the moment, when you're playing the game, you have 3 party members. In this demo, we've only got 2 unlocked at the moment. You have a maximum of 3 active, but you can have more than that. And as long as you're not in combat, you can swap those out anytime. So you can, we call it the golf bag approach. So you can just go there, recon an area, and then you can say, okay, this is, I'm going to require these kind of things, and then you set up your characters accordingly.
And of course, the recon is a whole sort of component in and of itself, because that's a...
Yeah, I think the way we sort of laid out the map is that you have the exploration where you sort of gather the resources and get the feel for the world, and then once you can come into contact with enemies, you get the sneak element where you sort of set up the your parameters and strategy, and then once you get into combat and you get into a turn-based, that's kind of when you roll your dice, and either you go through or you need to rethink your approach. And I think that's the way we wanted to take this IP as a role-playing game, and rather than doing it as a turn-based sort of strategy game or a sort of any other kind of game, we kind of wanted to sort of take this and sort of give this format as an RPG awesome. Kind of an experience.
It adds a wonderful wrinkle. And this is out 2019 at some point?
It's 2018.
20?
Yeah, it's 2018. The game is out when we feel it's ready.
Okay.
But right now, that's this year.
And you're looking at PC and consoles?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wonderful. If you need to take a break, now is the time, but make it quick because we'll be back in 60 seconds with James Duggan and a look at the state of Battle Royale.